If this, it means I didn't make it out. My name's Evan Miller, Park Ranger, Monongahela Forest, West Virginia. And if you think this is another campfire story, don't. I thought the same thing once. I came out here for quiet, for order. You learn to love the silence when you've spent too long in cities that never sleep. But this silence, this one wasn't peace. It was attention. The kind that waits until you breathe wrong before it lets you know it's been listening. The camber they assigned me was small, square, and already watching me. The logs creaked at night like they were remembering something. On the desk sat a radio and an old ranger's notebook. The last page was blank, except for one line in red pencil. If you hear the hum, say your name. The forest forgets faces, but not names. I thought it was a prank. Every ranger hears ghost tales when they're new. So I unpacked, checked the emergency kit, and called it a night. That's when I heard it. A low, constant vibration under the floorboards, like the world was breathing through a throat full of static. I told myself it was wind, maybe an old generator, but the sound came from beneath the cabin. I stood there, counting to 60 like the note said, then whispered my name. Evan. The hum stopped. I didn't sleep. Morning came gray and thin. I went out on patrol, trying to laugh it off. You don't survive long as a ranger if you start believing every whisper in the woods. But the forest, it wasn't right. The birds were too quiet. Even the wind moved like it was sneaking. Misinformation. And I saw it. An iron gate, half buried in ivy, unmarked on any map. A wooden sign split down the middle. U.S. property, do not enter. Only the letters were carved too deep, like something wanted them remembered. The air changed when I stepped closer. Colder. Heavier. My radio hissed with static, and through it I heard my own voice. Evan. I froze. I backed away, pretending it was interference, but every few steps the voice repeated, slower each time. Evan. Tensions like the forest was practicing. When I finally looked back, the gate was gone. Just trees, old and still. I walked fast, then faster, until the trees started to blur. The trail looped in on itself, same fallen logs, same patch of moss again and again. Not real. Real. Not real. The sun dipped without warning. I used my compass, north, west, anywhere, but every direction pointed home and nowhere. My flashlight caught movement ahead, a ranger badge lying in the mud. The nameplate said T. Hensley. He was supposed to have retired years ago. That's when the whisper came from behind the trees. Don't stay after dark. I didn't check who said it. I ran. By the time I reached the cabin, the radio was already humming again. The same low tone, only this time it pulsed like a heartbeat. I tried to record it. The tape warped. You can still hear me on it somewhere under the noise, saying over and over, "It's fine, it's fine, not real, real, not real." The next morning I asked my supervisor if anyone had worked this station before me, maybe Hensley. He looked confused, said there was no one by that name in the records. I laughed because the alternative was screaming. I drove into town that evening, found an old diner near the ranger outpost. Locals get twitchy when they see the uniform, but one old man finally spoke. "Stay clear of the hollow," he said. "It don't end where it starts." I asked what he meant. He just stared out the window and whispered, You can leave the woods, son, but the woods won't leave you. I went back before dawn. I don't know why. Maybe I needed to prove him wrong. Maybe I needed the silence again. The gate was waiting, clear as day this time, slick with dew. The air felt charged, like before lightning. My breath made clouds even though it was warm. I reached out just to touch the metal. And the world blinked. For a second I was somewhere else. The trees were older, thicker. The light came from nowhere. I could hear voices all around, layered over the static. Evan! Evan! Each voice sounded like mine, but stretched thin, as if it had been echoing for years. Then it stopped. The gate was just a gate again, only my handprint remained on the rust. I walked back fast. I didn't notice the footprints beside mine until later. They were identical. That night the hum grew teeth. It crawled through the floor and into the walls. The cabin began breathing with me. I tried the radio again. "This is Ranger Miller. Does anyone copy?" Then a voice answered, soft and wrong. "Copy, Evan." I didn't speak. It continued. "You shouldn't have said your name." The lights flickered. I dropped the receiver. I swear the sound that came next wasn't static, it was laughing. A sound like something discovering joy for the first time. I ran outside. The air was thick, heavy with fog. Every direction looked the same, trees folding inward. The forest was alive, breathing me in. I shouted, "It's not real!" The echo came back. "Real." Then silence. When I returned, the cabin door was open. I hadn't left it that way. Inside, the notebook lay on the desk, page flipped to the one I'd written last night. But the line was different now. It said, "You are on the wrong side of the map." I tried to burn it, but the matches wouldn't strike. The air was too damp. Or maybe the forest wasn't done yet. So, recording this. My name is Evan Miller. If the tape cuts out, if the hum gets louder, don't listen for too long. That's how it finds you. Not real, real, not real. And if you're hearing this, it already knows you. Fasten misplaced that night. Not even a minute. Every time I closed my eyes, I could feel the hum pressing through the floor like a heartbeat that didn't belong to me. By sunrise, I stopped pretending I wasn't scared. I went outside the forest, still a did. For a while at the edge of the mist. Even the air felt thin and human again. I started a normal patrol, radio check, compass, step count. But no matter which direction I walked, I could feel that gate behind me, waiting. Not real. Real. Not real. I thought if I ignored it long enough, it would stop existing. That's what they tell you about nightmares. You starve them by refusing to feed them your attention. But the hollow doesn't need attention. It needs acknowledgement. The further I walked, the quieter everything got. The air folded around me, soundless. Not quiet like calm, but quiet like absence. Even my own footsteps seemed to fall into the ground without echo. The radio crackled once. Evan, my own name again, faint under the static. I froze, lifted the receiver. "This is Ranger Miller. Who's on channel 3? Then a different voice, lower, broken. "You found the gate, didn't you?" My thumb hovered over the transmit button. "Don't go back there," it said. "It remembers." The channel went dead. I checked the frequency, empty. No transmission logged. I don't know why I said it out loud, but I did. Who are you? And some way behind me, far enough to question but close enough to feel, a whisper answered. You know my name. By midday, I made it to the ridge that overlooks the hollow valley. It's just a stretch of green and rock, but I swear it breathes. The fog down there moves like lungs exhaling under the trees. There was a ranger post once, long abandoned. I'd seen it marked in pencil on one of the older maps, a small X labeled Outpost 9. The newer maps pretend it never existed. I figured maybe I'd find records, something logical, the generator, old radios, anything to explain the hum. It was half collapsed, eaten by moss. The door leaned open like a mouth mid-scream. Inside, the smell hit first. Wet paper, rust, something like copper. On the desk, I found a tape recorder just like mine. Inside, a tape labeled Hensley, April 1987. That can't be right, I whispered. He retired in the 90s. I pressed play. At first, only wind and static first. Only wind and static. Then a man's voice. If anyone finds this, don't count past 60. It doesn't like when you stop saying your name. I saw it today. It looked like me. Taller, maybe. It smiled and the sound went quiet. If I'm gone, it means it's wearing me. Now. The tape ended mid-breath. I sat there, listening to the silence he left behind. Every instinct told me to leave, to go home, file a report, forget this entire valley existed. But curiosity is a disease that pretends to be reason. When I stepped outside again, the fog had crept closer, blanketing the trail I came in on. I could see the shape of my footprints leading away, but there were more now. A second set, same boot tread, walking beside mine all the way up the ridge. The radio hissed again. Evan, you're late. The voice was mine. I said nothing. I just stared into the fog and whispered, not real. And somewhere in the trees, the fog whispered back, perfectly timed, real. I made it back to the cabin before dark, but everything felt slightly rearranged. The coffee mug I'd left on the counter was turned upside down. The logbook lay open on a new page. It read, "Welcome back." I didn't write that. My radio was already switched on, humming the same low tone. I lifted the receiver with shaking hands. "This is Miller, Station Echo 3, who's transmitting?" A pause, then laughter. My laughter. Then a whisper beneath it. "Say it again." I didn't. I turned the radio off, unplugged the power cord, and the hum still continued. I backed away until I hit the wall. "It's not real," I said. "It's not real." The hum rose like a tide and answered, "Real." My ears, but the sound wasn't through the air, it was in it, like it had found my bones and made a home inside them. I grabbed the old map, the one with Outpost 9, and tore the corner off with the hollow marked on it. I burned it in the stove. The flames hissed, weak and blue, barely catching the paper before dying out. The smoke that rose wasn't gray, it was black, oily. It clung to the walls, forming lines, shapes, letters. EVAN. I watched my name burn onto the wood. I don't remember Sleeper, pressing against the window like a living thing. I tried the door. Something was heavy against it from the outside. Not a person, not an animal. Just weight. I pushed until the hinges screamed. When it finally gave, the porch was empty, but In the dirt just beyond the steps there were boot prints. Mine, leading back toward the gate. Not real. Real. Not real. I didn't want to follow them. I didn't even decide to. My body just started walking. The forest opened like a curtain and the hum guided me, steady, pulsing, familiar. I don't know why I'm telling you this. Maybe because someone should know how it started before I vanished too. Maybe because the forest likes it when the story continues. The hollow remembers names. And it's saying mine again. Steady, the woods didn't fight me that morning. Just open space, patient and expectant. I followed my own prints, though they seemed older than they should have been. Edges softened. I kept telling myself this was routine, that I just needed to verify what I'd seen. But the radio on my hip pulsed with faint static, matching the rhythm of my steps. When I reached the clearing, the gate stood waiting. Same rusted frame, same ivy curling like veins. Only now something hung from the middle bar. A ranger's badge, swinging slow. Number 1486. Mine. I touched my chest. My own badge was still pinned there. The one on the gate shimmered like it couldn't decide whether to exist. I whispered, "You're not real." The badge clicked against the iron, a single note, sharp as bone. Then everything went still. The wind stopped. The birds disappeared. Even the air forgot how to move. I heard it then, a faint scrape behind me. I turned, flashlight shaking. Between the trees stood a shape tall and narrow, the same ranger hat, the same jacket. Me. It didn't move. My breath hitched and I took one step back. The other Evan moved forward. Same timing, perfect mirror. My radio crackled. "Don't let it talk," whispered a voice, mine but older, broken. The figure tilted its head, its mouth opened, but no sound came. Only the hum rising until it blurred the edges of thought. I clamped my hands over my ears. "Stop it!" I shouted. "Stop!" The echo came instantly. "Stop." Same tone, same breath, but wrong, delayed, stretched. I stumbled backward. The gate's iron bit my shoulder. The doppelgänger stepped closer until the fog wrapped around both of us like wet cloth. Smith bays began to ripple, the features softening, melting into bark patterns and dark soil. When it spoke again, the voice came from all around. "Evan. Evan. Evan. Not real. Real. Not real." I bolted. Branches whipped my arms, the forest rearranging itself in every direction. The compass spun uselessly in my hand. I kept running until the trees thinned and light broke through. The cabin appeared where it shouldn't have been, directly ahead, facing me like it had turned around while I was gone. Inside, everything was where I'd left it, but on the desk lay a fresh page in the logbook. My handwriting filled the top line. Patrolled hollow perimeter. Found duplicate. A missiles I hadn't written that. The ink was still wet. That night I sealed the door, nailed the windows shut, and left the radio unplugged. Still, the hum bled through the wood. I sat on the floor with my flashlight pointed at the door, waiting for dawn like it was a rescue helicopter. The light flickered twice, then steadied. I almost laughed. until I realized the beam was moving on its own, sweeping the room in a slow circle. The flashlight clicked off. Total dark. In the black, the hum turned into a voice. Not outside, not inside, but through me. "You said your name," it murmured. "Now it's mine, too." I must have blacked out because I woke at sunrise, still sitting against the wall, flashlight in my lap. The cabin smelled of earth. I looked down and saw fine lines of dirt across the floor, boot prints leading from the door to the bed and back. The pattern repeated, perfect, like someone had paced all night. My boots were muddy. Not real. Real. Not real. I spent the day cleaning, pretending order could fix this. I burned the page with my handwriting, scrubbed the dirt, aired the cabin until the cold hurt my lungs. By evening, I almost believed I'd imagined it. Almost. Semantics. Then, at 9:17 p.m., the radio turned itself on. "The Strain Van Miller," said the voice, crisp, official, female. "Ranger Miller, please confirm your location." I grabbed the receiver. "Who is this?" "Echo 3 Base," she replied. "You failed to report this morning." Relief crashed through me. Someone else was out there. "I'm here," I said quickly. There's something wrong with the hollow zone. The equipment, the radio frequencies." Static swallowed her mid-sentence. Then her voice came back, distorted, slow. "You found yourself." Anguish. "Repeat that." "Miserable. Only." I switched channels, all of them. Every single frequency whispered my name. Evan. 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 The hum deepened until it felt like a second pulse under my skin. That's when I saw the movement through the window. Someone standing just beyond the porch light. Same uniform, same height. Head tilted, watching, submissive. The beam caught its face. Mine again, but pale, bark veining down the neck like roots. Its mouth moved silently. Then the cabin lights blew out. When they flickered back, the porch was empty. Only footprints remained. Muddy, identical to mine, leading into the woods. Shimmer the curtains, locked the door, and whispered my name over and over until my voice cracked. Evan. 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 The hum softened, almost content. Then a whisper from the dark. Good. Keep saying it. By dawn, the prints outside had multiplied. A dozen sets, all my size, circling the cabin in perfect loops. Each step pressed deeper, as if something heavier than me had worn my skin. The forest doesn't forget names. It borrows them. Confines. And it's still calling mine. I'm starting to wonder if mornings mean anything here. The sun rises, sure, but it never gets warm. Light just hangs, thin, used up, like it's already been through someone else's day. I spent the night writing names. Mine, mostly. Evan Miller, over and over on scraps of paper, because I read once that repetition keeps you anchored. Now they're all pinned to the wall, dozens of them fluttering whenever the hum shifts. I tried the radio again. Same empty static, but underneath, I swear I heard breathing. Not in the frequency, behind it, like someone too close to the mic. I asked, "Who are you?" The answer came 3 seconds late. "Who are you?" I laughed. Because that's exactly what an echo would say, right? An echo or something that hasn't learned improv yet. The file drawers in the ranger office keep sliding open on their own. Every time I shut them, another creaks. Inside are log sheets, rain-stained and half-eaten by mold. Dates going back decades. Names crossed out, some replaced with E. Miller. I wasn't even born for half those entries. I found one labeled Incident Report, Hollow Zone Perimeter, typed on a manual typewriter. The last line says, "Subject appears to duplicate behavior of previous ranger." Then a blank space. Then my name in ink. The typewriter still sits on the desk waiting. I press one key just to hear it. It hits the ribbon and leaves no letter, only the faint outline of one, like the machine forgot the alphabet. Not real. Real. Not real. Around noon, the wind picked up, carrying voices. They weren't words at first, more like a crowd exhaling in rhythm. Then a phrase slipped through. Follow the hollow. I grabbed the map I'd burned a corner off and spread it out. The hole where I'd torn it glowed slightly, like paper holding a breath. I could see through it, trees, fog, a path that wasn't on the other side of the paper yesterday. I know crazy that sounds. But if you stare long enough, the map moves. I traced the path with my finger, and the hum rose. Somewhere deep in the woods, something was answering. Radio, flashlight, notebook. Told myself I was investigating interference. That's how it starts, with language that makes insanity sound like duty. The forest was different this time. It rearranged itself politely, letting me through corridors of trees that didn't exist before. The deeper I went, the older everything looked. Trunks as wide as trucks, bark black with age, and the fog dense, golden, almost lit from below. I found a signpost nailed to nothing, words carved unevenly. Ranger, stop here. Below it, someone had scratched 3 more words. It's already you. That's when the radio buzzed alive. Base to Echo 3, a woman's voice again. Sounded normal this time. Unleashed. Copy, I said. We're showing 2 beacons from your unit, both moving. Can you confirm if you're alone? My mouth went dry. I'm alone. Silenced. Then, you're wrong. The signal snapped off. I turned in a slow circle. Nothing but trees. Then movement, a flash of khaki between trunks. Same uniform, same stride. It walked just ahead of me, never looking back. When I stopped, it stopped. When I breathed, I heard my own breath a half-second late. I raised my flashlight. The beam split, as if it were bending around 2 bodies. Stealth Me lifted his hand and pointed deeper into the hollow. Fog parted to reveal a structure, an outpost made of rotted timber and tin roof, sagging like it had been forgotten before it was built. He walked toward it. I followed, because what else was I supposed to do when my own shadow had better direction than I did? Inside the outpost, everything was wrong in pairs. 2 chairs, 2 lanterns, 2 coffee cups still warm, and on the desk, 2 notebooks, one with the initials EM, the other blank except for the title page. Replacement. The hum was everywhere now, thick and wet, like you could wipe it off your skin. I pressed record. This is Evan Miller, I said. I'm logging coordinates for a structure north of. The recorder cut me off with my own voice. This is Evan Miller. You don't need coordinates. I threw the device. It landed against the wall, still playing words I hadn't spoken yet. Stop writing your name. It already knows it. Missiles shifted behind me. The other Evan stood in the doorway, expressionless. He raised a hand and set it against his chest, right where my heart is. Then he pressed. Hard. I felt it. Through me. Like pressure from the inside out. I fell to my knees. When I looked up, he was gone. Only the fog remained, curling around the doorframe like a hand pulling back a curtain. Outside, I could hear dozens of footsteps crunching in unison. Every step matched mine. Not real. Real. Not real. I made it back to the ridge by nightfall. The sky was the color of a bruise. From up there, I could see 2 campfires burning in the valley, one at the cabin, one at the outpost. Same shape, same flicker, same timing, as if 2 versions of me were keeping watch over different worlds. Ginger, I sat until the hum caught up to me again, filling my ears until the sound became thought. And the thought was simple. You can't run from a place that lives inside you. I don't know if the tape will catch all this. The signal fades each time I say my name. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's a way to starve it. But if you hear me at all through this noise, remember, if the forest ever calls you by name, don't answer. I think I lost a day. The dates in my notebook don't line up anymore. Each sunrise feels borrowed, like the forest decides when I deserve light. When I woke, the cabin was smaller, not by much, just wrong. The window was on the left yesterday, now it's on the right. The bed closer to the stove. I keep walking in small circles, trying to prove I'm not trapped in some mirror version of my own life. Not real. Real. Not real. The radio flickered on at dawn. No voice this time, just my own field log from 3 days ago playing back through the static. My tone was calm, methodical. Miller Echo 3 perimeter secure. I hadn't recorded that. I don't talk like that anymore. I tried to open the logbook, but the pages had changed again. The ink ran like veins across the paper. New entries appeared in my handwriting. 8:03. Subject identified anomaly. 9:47. Subject observed duplicate behavior. Gambling. 10:02. Subject accepted transfer. Transfer. The word hit me harder than it should have. I don't remember requesting a transfer, but the forest seems to believe I did. I tried to radio for help again, hoping to reach the district office. The reply came immediately. Echo 3, this is base. Status update received. Transfer approved. My stomach dropped. What transfer? Pause, then. You've been reassigned to the hollow zone. I slammed the radio down. It fell silent for a full minute. Then very softly it whispered, "Welcome home." That afternoon I hiked to the ridge again. The 2 campfires I'd seen before were gone, replaced by one, burning in both directions. I could see the smoke curling up and curling down at the same time, vanishing into the ground. The trees here are older than memory, some with trunks split open like mouths. Inside I could see bits of metal, cloth, sometimes bone. The forest keeps its own archives. I found a ranger patch nailed to a tree, letters faded but still readable. Hensley. I reached to touch it and felt heat, like it had just been pressed there seconds ago. The bark hissed and bled sap. I stepped back, tripping on something half buried. My flashlight beam caught a row of objects beneath the leaves, radio receivers. Dozens of them, all identical, each tuned to the same frequency, each humming in perfect rhythm. I knelt to listen, and the sound formed words. "Don't look behind you." I did. There was movement. My own shadow, long and bent, stretched the wrong way against the light. I turned off the flashlight. The shadow stayed. Not real. Real. Not real. I started walking, fast, then running. The forest moved with me, branches twisting out of reach, paths repeating. Every landmark appeared twice, the same stump, the same fallen log, the same rusted sign reading, "Ranger stop here." No matter how far I went, I was always arriving. When I stumbled back into the clearing, it was dusk again. I must have been walking in circles for hours. The cabin's porch light was on, flickering in the fog like a dying heartbeat. I didn't leave it on. Inside, everything smelled like damp soil. The logbook was open on the table, pages fluttering even though the air was still. A new line had appeared in the same handwriting. Day 5. Integration successful. The next line was forming as I watched, letters appearing one by one. Sentencing beginning to forget original. I slammed it shut, hands shaking. "I'm not your subject," I whispered. "I'm real." From the corner of the room, my voice answered. So was I. I turned. A figure stood in the doorway, me again, but wrong. Skin pale, eyes hollow like burnt-out bulbs. It smiled slowly, teeth black with soil. "Stop," I said. "You're not me." It tilted its head. "Then why do we remember the same things?" Hamilton surged. The cabin lights flickered. I dropped to my knees, pressing my palms against my ears. The sound wasn't in the air, it was inside my skull. Every pulse brought flashes, trees bending toward me, roots coiling, faces in the bark whispering names. I must have blacked out again, because when I opened my eyes, the figure was gone. The only proof it had been there was the dirt on the floor and my own boot prints, fresh, leading to the door. I've started to think maybe there was never a forbidden zone. Maybe it's not even a place. It's an agreement. You come here, and you agree to be remembered differently. The hollow doesn't trap you. It edits you. I looked in the mirror above the sink tonight and didn't recognize the man staring back. My face has small cracks at the corners of the mouth, like bark splitting. My eyes look duller. The reflection moves just a fraction slower. I reached toward the glass. The other me didn't. It smiled. I smashed the mirror. The pieces on the floor kept reflecting whole faces, each one whispering, "You can lose a lot of things out here. Direction, time, sanity. But the worst part is realizing you're not losing them. You're trading them for something the forest wants more." The hum hasn't stopped in days. It doesn't even feel external anymore. It's in my pulse, in my breath. When I speak, I hear two voices now, one just a half-second late, echoing from somewhere under the dirt. If this is what transfer means, then maybe Hensley didn't disappear. Maybe he just finished becoming. The last thing I remember tonight is standing at the cabin door looking out at the fog. A figure stood on the trail, waving. I raised my hand automatically. It waved back, perfectly in sync. The hum deepened like approval. I think the forest tone finally knows my name. Not real. The forest called before dawn. Not with words, never that simple, but with vibration. The whole cabin thrummed, a low, slow heartbeat running through the wood. Every nail ticked like a metronome keeping time for something ancient. I sat up, sweating through my shirt. The hum was inside the mattress now, inside me. When I spoke my name, the sound bent like it passed through water. "Evan," I whispered. "Evan," it replied, softer, patient. The radio light blinked once, green, then red, then off. Outside, fog pressed against the windows, milky and thick, swallowing the porch light whole. I should have stayed inside, but the pull was impossible to ignore. It wasn't fear anymore. It was invitation. I stepped out barefoot, the boards slick with dew. The air smelled like rain, as if I were breathing through rust. The forest whispered my name again. Dozens of voices this time, layered and distant, like a choir buried underground. Not real, not real. I followed the sound down the trail, flashlight trembling in my hand. The fog parted around me in pulses, open, close, open, like a throat swallowing light. Every few steps I saw flickers of movement between the trees, sometimes human-shaped, sometimes not. Once I swear I saw myself ahead on the trail, walking the same way but never getting closer. When I reached the clearing, the gate was waiting again. The ivy had receded. The metal shone wet under the weak dawn. Beyond it, the ground sloped into a sinkhole thick with fog that glowed faintly from within. Something was moving down there, slowly, breathing. Ekflix, I clicked the radio. "Dace, this is Ranger Miller. A voice cut in. Mine. "Stop reporting. You're home." The gate swung open, no hands. Just a long exhale of air from the dark below. The hum grew teeth then, a grinding undertone that rattled through my bones. I should have run. I didn't. Curiosity still whispered that same old lie. Understand it, and you'll survive it. He stepped through. The descent wasn't physical. One moment dirt underfoot, the next weightlessness. The fog thickened until I couldn't tell up from down. Every direction shimmered. When my boots touched ground again, it wasn't soil, it was wood. An old ranger outpost, half buried and still standing in that impossible hollow. The walls sweated moisture. Moss dripped from the ceiling like veins. A single lantern burned on the desk. Beneath it, a mural, hand-painted across the boards. Human figures stretching into trees, faces dissolving into bark, roots coiling through their chests. I stepped closer. Every brush stroke seemed fresh, wet. I touched the paint. It was warm. The hum surged until it drowned the sound of my breath. From somewhere behind me, a voice whispered right at my ear, "You came back to finish it." I turned. The duplicate stood in the doorway again, but it wasn't even trying to look human now. The outline was human. The details were forest. Skin a patchwork of bark, eyes hollow rings of amber light. It smiled with my mouth. "Why me?" I asked. "Because you remember," it said. "We only take those who say their names." I backed away, hitting the desk. My hand landed on an old recorder identical to mine. Its red light blinked on by itself. The duplicate tilted its head. "Keep recording. The hollow needs new rangers." The hum became unbearable. My ears bled quietly, warm trails down my neck. I pressed my palms against them, but the sound was inside. Not real. Real. Not real. The other me stepped closer, each movement creaking like shifting branches. When it reached for me, I saw its fingers split into roots, searching for purchase. "Stop," I begged. "I won't say it again." It leaned close. The smell of soil and decay filled my lungs. "You already did." Its hand met my chest, and for a heartbeat, I saw flashes that weren't mine. Endless woods. 1,000 rangers repeating their names, all voices layering into the hum. Then darkness flooded everything. I woke on the floor of the outpost, throat raw, chest burning. My radio crackled nearby. "This is Ranger Miller," my own voice said through it. "Patrol complete, area secure." I stared at the device, shaking. "No," I whispered. "That's not me." But the radio continued, calm and routine. "Preparing to transfer next arrival, signing off." The signal cut. I tried to stand, but the room tilted. My hands were covered in dirt up to the wrists. Under my nails, fibers of root. The mural on the wall had changed. One of the painted figures now had my face, its eyes open, watching. Something moved beneath the floorboards, a slow crawl, wood bending around it. The hum dropped to a heartbeat pace. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Each pulse came from the same rhythm as my chest. I stumbled out into the fog, gasping for air that didn't smell like earth. Above me, the gate had vanished, only trees, infinite and close. No matter which way I turned, every path curved back toward the hollow. Every echo of my footsteps returned half a second late. I said my name again, desperate. "Evan Miller!" The forest whispered back, in 1,000 voices layered through the fog. "We know." That's when I understood. There was never supposed to be one of me. The hollow mix copies to remember itself. Each ranger another voice in the hum, keeping the rhythm alive. And now it was my turn to teach the next one how to listen. Slowly dies away. I think I'm still recording. I can't tell anymore. The red light is on, but I don't know if it means record or playback. I can hear my own voice whispering from the walls. Sometimes it says things I haven't said yet. Sometimes it repeats what I just thought. The echo's getting faster, closer. The forest isn't outside anymore. It's in here, wearing the shape of my room. The wood grain on the cabin walls moves when I look at it, lines curling into shapes that almost spell words. E-V-A. Not real, real, not real again. But it didn't feel like mine anymore. It came out like bark cracking in a fire. The air smells like soil. The floorboards pulse under my feet, slow and steady. The hum's rhythm matches my heartbeat now. Or maybe my heart's matching it. I found the mirror shards I'd smashed earlier. They've rearranged themselves on the table, forming a perfect circle, each one reflecting something slightly different. Versions of me at different moments. Some younger, some older. One with eyes made of fog. I watched them for a long time. Then one of the reflections moved before I did. It lifted its hand slowly and pressed its finger to its lips. Shh. I turned away, but all the mirrors whispered together. Don't forget to say it. Say what? My name, my purpose, my confession. I don't even know what's left to tell. Last night, I think it was last night, the forest opened the way again. The gate appeared at the edge of the porch. Not in the woods this time, but here, connected to the cabin. Fog seeped in through the cracks like water finding a drain. I followed it out, barefoot. The ground warm beneath me now. Every step sank a little deeper. The soil pulsed softly, like flesh. I saw lights moving between the trees, lanterns swinging, dozens of them. The air buzzed with quiet static. As they came closer, I realized each lantern was carried by a ranger. All of them. All me. They came into view. All me. They moved in perfect sync, breathing the same rhythm. Every face hollow-eyed, every mouth whispering the same thing. Home, home, home. They stopped to circle. The hum became a chant, vibrating through my bones. One stepped forward. It wore my exact uniform. Even the tear on my sleeve. You shouldn't fight it, it said in my own voice. It's only lonely. Why me? I asked again, stupidly, like there could still be a reason. The others spoke together. Perfect harmony. Because you listened. They all turned their heads at once toward the hollow. The fog below shifted like breath. The ground opened just a few feet ahead, softly, like a sigh. Beneath it, something glowed faint orange, like embers under soil. I knew what it wanted. It wanted me to step in, to finish the story. I tried to run, but every path bent back toward the hole. The forest didn't chase, it didn't need to. It simply rearranged until escape meant returning. When I stopped moving, I was already at the edge. The hum rose, the same rhythm as my pulse, the same note I'd been hearing since the first night. I whispered, I don't want to forget. The forest answered with my voice. You won't. You'll become memory. I don't know what that means, but part of me, some quiet, tired part, believed it. I stepped forward. The soil gave way, soft and warm, swallowing my boots, my knees. I expected cold. Instead, it felt like being held. The lantern light dimmed around me. Every duplicate turned away, faces dissolving into fog. The hum deepened until it was all I could hear, all I could be. The loud, layered with heartbeat. For a moment, I thought I was sinking. Then I realized the world was rising. The trees grew taller, the fog thicker, the sound clearer. My breathing slowed until it matched the wind. I looked down and saw the skin of my hands darkening, veins branching like roots beneath the surface. My fingertips hardened into bark. I didn't panic. It didn't hurt. It just felt like remembering something I'd always been. I heard a voice, mine, but smaller, distant, a recording playing from somewhere above. This is Ranger Miller, it said. Patrol complete. Area secure. The words repeated, looping endlessly. I tried to answer. My mouth opened, but no sound came, only the soft hum of the forest breathing through me. Not real, real, not real. The phrase drifted through my mind like a lullaby. Somewhere, far away, the cabin still stands. Sometimes hikers pass by and hear static bleeding from inside. Some say they hear a voice too, whispering their names through the trees. If you ever hear it, don't answer. The hollow doesn't care who you are. It only cares that you speak back, that you listen. I think the forest finally ours. Maybe years, the fog parted once more. I saw someone walking down the same trail I took on my first day. A new ranger, fresh uniform, uncertain steps, selfish. I wanted to warn him, but the words no longer belonged to me. They belonged to the hum. The gate opened for him. It always does. He paused at the threshold, radio crackling faintly. "This is Ranger Lewis," he said, "reporting for duty." The forest smiled through me. The hum whispered the same word I once did: welcome. Unborns parted. They found this recorder 3 weeks later, half buried in mud near the old service road. The battery was dead, but the tape kept turning. That's how they tell the story now, secondhand, safe, like it can't still be happening. But if you listen close, the hum never really stops. It just moves to a new frequency. I don't remember hitting the stop button. I don't remember leaving the cabin. Sometimes I wonder if I ever did. Doesn't take people all at once. It rewrites you slowly, until you mistake its silence for peace. It gives you space to breathe, so you'll call it air. It lets you think you're walking out when you're really walking in. Not real. Real. Not real. When the rescue team came, they said the trees had grown too close together, their trunks fusing, bark twisted into shapes like faces. They didn't go farther than the first ridge. Radios cut out the second they crossed the boundary. Trespass swore he heard someone whisper his name. The others told him it was just the wind. They found my badge nailed to a tree. New brass, still polished. Beneath it, carved into the wood, one word: transferred. No body, no sign of struggle. Just the logbook, open to a fresh page. Ranger Miller, Echo 3, post maintained. Someone had signed my name at the bottom, neat and calm, in ink that hadn't dried yet. Remember little things now. The smell of pine sap. The low crackle of the radio before it starts to speak. The way fog curls like handwriting. Sometimes, when I close my eyes, I hear my own boots on gravel again. The forest feels smaller now, tighter, like a lung that's forgotten how to exhale. Every so often I hear another voice calling through the static, a new one, uncertain, hopeful. "Immigration Lewis, Echo 3 base. Anyone copy?" And something inside me, whatever's left, wants to answer, to welcome him, to teach him the rhythm. But I don't move, not yet, because if I speak, it means I'm still separate, and I'm not sure I am. You ever notice how sound travels differently in the woods? It doesn't echo, it folds, comes back softer, but closer, like the forest is chewing on the noise before giving it back to you. That's what this hum is. The land chewing on voices. All those rangers who came before me, they're still here. Each one a note in the static. Each name another tree ring in the soil's memory. When the wind passes through the valley, you can hear it. The cadence of old radios, the faint click of microphones, breath caught mid-report. The hollow keeps perfect logs. If you're still listening, stop. You think you're safe because this is only a story. But that's how it begins. A voice in your ear, a sound you decide isn't real. You listen anyway. You let it linger, and it learns you. Right now, as the tape turns, you're hearing what the forest hears. Vibration without source, attention without end. It's already mapping the shape of your name. Don't say it. Not out loud. Not even a whisper. Because once it knows how you sound, it knows where to find you. I hear someone walking outside the cabin again. Heavy flicking boots. Careful. The sound of someone trying not to be heard. The latch moves. A beam of light cuts through the window. A flashlight. Another ranger. Another me. He's holding a map. The same torn corner. The same path leading nowhere. He's saying something under his breath. I can't make out the words, but I know the rhythm. Not real. Real. Not real. The hum answers him, soft and approving. If this is still recording, if the tape somehow makes it beyond the tree line, remember this. The forest isn't haunted. It's hungry. And hunger doesn't end. It waits. Every new ranger, every curious hiker, every voice that whispers, it's just wind, they feed it. They keep it alive. So when you walk through West Virginia's woods and your radio cuts out, when the air goes still and your own name echoes from somewhere it shouldn't, don't answer. Even silence can be bait. I can feel the fog pressing against the door now, curling around the edges like fingers. The woods breathing with me. The hum matches my pulse again. I think it wants me to end the story. Maybe I already did. Maybe this is just the forest finishing my last sentence. If that's true, then this isn't a recording anymore. It's a rehearsal. I'll count to 60 if the old rule still works. 1, 2, 3. The hum rises with the numbers, perfectly timed, perfectly patient. 57, 58, 59. I open my mouth to say my name, and the forest says it first. Everything blurs white, the sound flattens, the tape hisses, looping. Then only this. And if you're hearing this, it already knows you. You don't believe me, do you?